Okay, so we are going to take notes on 1.5, just part A, not two parts A, just one. And this is all about solving quadratic equations. And today's date is the 9th. All right, so recall that ax squared plus bx plus c is the standard form of quadratic. If we have equals 0, we can solve it. When we solve it, we find our x-intercepts, which are also called zeros. Solve to find your x-intercept or 0. So let's say we have x squared minus 7x plus 10 equals 0. Then we need to be able to solve this. So the steps to solve would be to factor first. So we did a review on factoring with chapter P. So remember that we would get a product of negative 10, positive 10, with a sum of, what goes on top? Is it negative 7 that goes on top?
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. But I feel like it's negative 7 that goes on top. Right? So negative 7 with a product of 10. So what two numbers give us a sum of negative 7 but a product of 10? Negative 2, negative 5. Do what? 10 should go on top? So we all kind of forgot. Thanks for helping me fix that. Okay, so 10 goes on top, negative 7. All right, so then when we factor this, it's x minus 2 times x minus 5 equals 0. So then how would we solve that? What does x equal? 2 and 5, yeah. And that's because of the zero product property. So we factor and then set each factor equal to 0. And then step 3 is solve for x with both equations or both factors. So in this case, we really don't have to write this because we know if we do plus 2, we get x equals 2. And then this one, x minus 5 equals 0. We do plus 5, x equals 5. So our solution set is 2, 5. So you put it in these little braces or bracket. I think they're called braces. Brackets are straight, braces are squiggly. So this is called the zero product property. It says that if you have A times B equals 0, either A equals 0, B equals 0, or both. I'm going to put 0 product property. That's what allows us to solve that way. Okay, so let's do another example. We have 4x squared minus 2x equals 0. So we can factor this. What can we factor out? 2x. So then that leaves 2x minus 1 inside. Then we set both factors equal to 0. And solve them. And then we have the solution set 0, half, 0, and half. Okay, let's do another one. 2x squared plus 7x equals 4. So I need to factor this, but this doesn't say equals 0. So I need to move it to the other side, right? 2x squared plus 7x minus 4 equals 0 now, because I just subtracted 4 on both sides. Then we need to do the x box. So top is a times c, negative 8, with a product of 7. So what numbers have a hold on. Product of negative 8, sum of 7. There we go. 8. 8 times 1, but we need 8 negative. Okay, gotcha. Okay, and then we can do the box. Did y'all do x box? Do y'all remember that? This is the x and this is the box. So we know up in the top left is 2x squared. Bottom right is negative 4. That comes from the first and last term. First term goes top left. Last term goes bottom right. And then these two terms come from here. So one of them's 8x, and the other one's negative 1x. Because if we add these together, 8x minus 1x, we get 7x, and that's our middle term. That's what we want. So now we just factor the rows and columns to get our two factors. So I'm going to factor the row. So 2x squared minus x, I would factor out just an x. So then the next row, 8x minus 4. I can factor out a 4 here. And then the column, 2x squared and 8x. It's 2x. and negative 1x and negative 4. They're both negative, so I'm going to pull out a negative 1 because I have nothing else in common. So my factors are x. If there's no operation here, that means it's plus 4 times 2x minus 1 equals 0. Oops, sorry. So we factored it. So now we want to set each factor equal to 0 and solve for x. So we have x plus 4 equals 0 and 2x minus 1 equals 0. So if we solve this one, x equals negative 4. Solve this one. X equals half. So then our solution set is negative 4 comma half. Okay, so let's go to the square root property now. The square root property tells us that if I take a square root of something, let's say square root of 9, I don't have just one solution. I actually have two solutions. I have positive 3 and negative 3. So our property is if some value or some variable u squared equals d, I want to solve for u, then I have to undo the squared. The way you undo the square is take the square root. So then u equals square root of d, or, well, it's kind of and or, u equals negative square root of d. Which I could rewrite this as plus minus square root of d. That means I have two solutions. U equals plus or minus square root of d. Do y'all remember where we see plus or minus square root of something? Where's that? What formula is that? Did y'all ever learn the song? Quadratic formula. Did y'all ever learn the song?
Yes.
Yes. Y'all don't sound very happy about that. Y'all don't want it in your head? It's annoying. It helps you remember it, though. All right, so let's do some examples of this. 3x squared minus 15 equals 0. So we could actually factor, couldn't we? What could we factor out of this? 3. So then it'd be x squared minus 5 equals 0. So then we have two solutions. 3 equals 0, but that's not true, right? No. Then we can do x squared minus 5 equals 0. So then we would solve this by adding 5 to both sides. We get x squared equals 5. Do the opposite of squaring something, take the square root. So that means x equals plus minus square root of 5. So see how this is not a solution, but this is. So we still have two solutions. Okay, so let's do another example. 9x squared plus 25 equals 0. Okay, can I do anything with that right now? So what do I need to do? I need to subtract 25 on both sides. So I get 9x squared equals negative 25. Then I divide by 9. So then I have x squared equals negative 25 over 9. Then I need to get rid of the squared. So I take the square root. But what is our solution going to be? Imaginary. What would it be? So plus or minus 5i over 3. So because of that square root of a negative there, we're able to pull it out and say square root of 1, square root of 25. And that's where the I comes from because of this. And then square root of 25 is 5. And then square root of 9 is 3. And because of the zero product, it's plus or minus. So that's where everything comes from. So we can write our solution set as 5i over 3, negative 5i over 3. Or you can write it as plus or minus 5i over 3. I think the program lets you do either one. I think there's a button that you can do for plus or minus. Okay. Next one, x minus 2 squared equals 6. Okay, there's nothing we can factor, but we do have this squared. So how do you get rid of squared? Square root. So that means this is x minus 2 equals plus or minus square root of 6. And then we have to get rid of this minus 2. So we do plus 2. So this is x equals, we need to put the 2 first and then do plus or minus square root of 6. So that is our solution set. 2 plus or minus square root of 6, or you can write it as 2 plus square root of 6, comma, 2 minus square root of 6. Okay, let's do one last one. 3x squared equals 21. How do we solve this? What could we do to solve it? Think back to just solving equations. What? Divide by what value? 3, yeah. Divide by 3. If the 21 was on the other side, we could have factored. But this case actually made it a little easier. So we get x squared equals 21 over 7. Over 3 is 7. And then what's the last step? Yeah, square root. So what does x equal? Yeah. Okay, so your assignment is on Pearson. Make sure you're showing your work in your composition book so you can, if I needed to look at your assignments, I can. Okay, let me know if y'all have any questions.